Hi everyone, welcome to today's lesson. Yesterday we went over what makes writing good and try to start thinking as writers. We're going to do that same thing. So character when I'm reading is always the place where I start, and also when I'm writing, when I'm thinking creatively or want to create a story, character I find to be the easiest entry point, so that's where we're going to try to enter. So what we need to do, same thing, put our heads in kind of a writer's mindset. How do we create characters? So we're going to look at some text and say, how does an author create a character? And then we'll use that to help us create some characters. So our goal today is going to be able to identify how an author creates a character. So I want to start with a character you're familiar with. So you're going to just first think, what's your favorite show or movie or book? And then you're going to tell me about your favorite character from that show. So kind of like go through this thought experiment of like, who is this character and what are they like? So think about that person for you, and I will share one of mine. I'm going to use SpongeBob. Some of you may have heard of SpongeBob. So SpongeBob is yellow and square. He's easygoing. He's kind of dopey sometimes. He cares about people around him, Patrick, Squidward, Mr. Krabs, but he can sometimes be annoying and get on people's nerves. So I know when I said that he cares about Squidward, some of you might have said they don't get along that well all the time. And that's because SpongeBob can be kind of annoying sometimes, and he also wants to be a great chef. So as I'm thinking about this character, like somebody sat down and created this character, and they had to decide like what traits were they going to give this character, what things with my audience when they see him, what do I want them to be thinking about. So these are hopefully some of those things because that's what I'm picking up on for SpongeBob. So I'm going to go through a list of these might be some of the things that author thought of, and this is how we're going to look at characters to try to see like, okay, how are they actually creating this character? So one of those character traits, like what is your character like? But when you dig deeper, you can kind of name them a little more clearly. So like, what are some of the things that the character wants? What are some challenges that the character faces? How does that character feel about themselves? How are the characters' relationship with others? Do they get along with others? Do they have a hard time with others? And then we have like that, how does the character look? Sometimes we just get a description of their look, but look isn't the only thing that gives us a sense of like what the character like looks and feels like. It's kind of like their facial expressions, the way their body moves. They have any special like way that they talk or something unique about them, or the style of their clothing more so than just like the one thing that they wear. So that last one is kind of like characters looks, but there's also like some different parts to it. So if I put SpongeBob through this test of like, okay, those initial things I saw about him, if I put him through these like looking at a character this way, what are some character traits for him? I would say friendly, annoying, motivated. He wants to be a really great chef. His wants and challenges, he wants to be a great chef. He doesn't get a lot of support at his job, so that's a challenge. Squidward and Mr. Krabs are always kind of putting him down. His attitude towards himself, he believes in himself, but he often gets down about himself, so he's kind of like a little bit of a roller coaster on that attitude towards himself. His relationship with others, he has a best friend, which is great, Patrick. He annoys Squidward, but he tries to be Squidward's friend, and he also looks up to Mr. Krabs, despite Mr. Krabs often giving him a hard time. And then if I think about like how does SpongeBob like move around? What are his movements like? What does he look like? He always has a lot of energy. He's often smiling, so like that demeanor for him definitely tells me a little bit about like who he is beyond just if like I said he's yellow, he's square, he wears pants. By thinking about like how is the way that he moves around in the world, that helps me to get a better sense of who SpongeBob is. So I want to keep these couple different ways that an author thinks through character before they create a character, and take a look at the text that we read yesterday. And the first time through them, we just looked at like, okay, what's the sentence that's standing out? What is making this writing good? But now we're going to try to shift to character and think about those characters in those texts that we looked at, like how are they coming to be? So I'm going to do one of them. I'm going to kind of model this unpacking character skill, and then you all are going to try with those same texts. So I'm going to use the book thief. Our character here is Death. And I'm going to go through and try and think through some of these things. So what am I noticing about Death? So I'll read it, but I'll stop after each page and kind of talk through what am I seeing there. Death and chocolate. First the colors, then the humans. That's usually how I see things, or at least how I try. Here's a small fact. You are going to die. I'm in all truthfulness attempting to be cheerful about this whole topic, though most people find themselves hindered in believing me, no matter my protestations. Please, trust me. I most definitely can be cheerful. I can be amiable, agreeable, affable, and that's only the A's. Just don't ask me to be nice. Nice has nothing to do with me. Reaction to the aforementioned fact. Does this worry you? I urge you, don't be afraid. I am nothing if not fair. Of course, an introduction, a beginning. Where are my manners? All right, so if I try to look at some of these, I can probably pick up on some of them. Characters, traits, I think this character, and we definitely, like, the author knows we have some preconceived notions about death, so they're not going through and doing a lot of this last one, like the way the character looks and acts, like, it's kind of assumed we know who Death is, so there's not a lot of description with that. But we do get, like, Death describing himself as amiable, agreeable, affable, so I'm going to take those words a little bit at face value that, like, yes, those are probably character traits for Death, but I'm also going to say, like, Death is also, like, trying to be, I don't know, down to earth or nice. So, like, that's kind of my takeaway there. If someone, like, sits and lists who they are for me, like, I'm going to draw some assumptions about them other than just the things that they say. So when I think about attitude towards self, like, you know, it sounds like they're kind of like, they take themselves seriously, but also want others to see them a certain way. So they kind of, like, that's how they feel about themselves. And I think they also know, like, when I think of characters' relationships with others, and we'll see more of this, like, how does Death interact with people? It seems like Death feels a little disconnected and knows that humans probably feel some way about Death. So he tries to, like, help them understand him a little bit. So I'm going to read one more page and see what else I can learn about Death. I can introduce myself properly, but it's not really necessary. You will know me enough. You will know me well enough and soon enough, depending on a diverse range of variables. It suffices to say that at some point in time I will be standing over you as genially as possible. Your soul will be in my arms. A color will be perched on my shoulder. I will carry you gently away. At that moment, you'll be lying there. I rarely find people standing up. You'll be caked in your own body. There might be a discovery. A scream will dribble down the air. The only sound I'll hear after that will be my own breathing and the sound of the smell of my footsteps. The question is, what color will everything be at that moment when I come for you? What will the sky be saying? Personally, I like a chocolate-colored sky. Dark, dark chocolate. People say it suits me. I do, however, try to enjoy every color I see, the whole spectrum. A billion or so flavors, none of them quite the same, and a sky to slowly suck on. It takes off the stress. It helps me relax. A small theory. People observe the colors of a day only at its beginnings and ends, but to me, it's quite clear that a day merges through a multitude of shades and intonations with each passing. All right, so I underlined a bunch of things as I was going, but these are things that I was kind of picking up on for these. So, like, characters, traits, like, he's doing it as genially as possible, carrying you gently away. So, like, Death seems nice, which is not what I would expect here. There might be a discovery, a scream. So we see, like, that part when he's going to people, and I'm thinking about his relationship with others. Because at the end it says it takes the edge off the stress. It helps me relax. So definitely, like, characters, wants, and challenges. Like, this character, Death, is kind of stressed about their job. And maybe that's because of their relationship with others. Like, doesn't really have a good relationship with others. Whenever he comes by, they are screaming. So it sounds like things are kind of challenging for Death, and I didn't think after reading 2 pages of Death as my character I'd be, like, feeling kind of bad for Death, but it seems like that's what the author's trying to do, and they're doing that by kind of intentionally making these things. My character's traits, my character's wants, their attitude toward themselves, their relationship with others. So if I had to go through and fill that out for Death, it might look something like this. Their character traits, Death is kind of, like, friendly, cheerful, at least trying to be gentle. Like, those are all things I got from Death. And again, if I started this before reading, this is not my preconceived notions of Death. Characters, wants, and challenges. It sounds like Death wants to enjoy, I didn't want to put the word life there. It felt kind of sarcastic. Like, they want to enjoy their experience or their time. And also in the way that Death talks about the colors, it seems like he also wants other people to appreciate those colors. And then for challenges, Death is definitely stressed from their job. Maybe they need a vacation. I don't know how that works for Death. Attitude towards self. Seems like Death doesn't take himself very seriously, like trying to put, like, I don't know, a little bit of levity or calm to this, what can be a very stressful job. Relationships with others, obviously can't connect with people too well, but it seems like there's a desire there for Death to connect to people. And then as far as, like, the looks, the movements, the facial expressions, we don't get a ton, which I think is, again, intentional because the author thinks that we have a picture of what Death looks like. But we do get that, like, the way that death moves in the world, like acting gentle, trying to be nice, trying to give explanations and make you feel a little less stressed about this experience you're about to have. So I'm definitely learning a lot about death. And again, these are all intentional choices that the author makes. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to go through this same process. So you have to pull up the story excerpts from yesterday, and there's also a document to fill all this out. But you're going to go through and reread those excerpts from the stories. And instead of looking for what sentences are standing out, what's making the story work well, you're going to be looking for how are these characters being created. So and in all of them, it doesn't give you the character's name in the first 2 pages, so I made sure to put the name in here. But for the story Children of Blood and Bone, Zelly is the character you're going to be looking at. In Everything, Everything, Madeline is our character. In 1984, Winston is our character. And then in Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda, obviously Simon is going to be our character there. And the final thing you'll do is you will choose a story of your own. That can be a movie, a TV show, a different book, a short story you want to use, really anything. And you're going to put that character's name up there and tell me what is that character like how did the author create that character. And again, as we're transitioning to this thinking like writers, we're going to actually create characters. So as you're doing this assignment, as you're going through this experience, be thinking what things do I like about how characters are being created? What things do I think that I can replicate? Because very soon you'll be asked to create your own character. So again, that goal for today is just to be able to identify how an author creates a character. And again, eventually it'll twist to us making our own character.